I want to move in to talk to you about certain things that you need to be saying. Like I did an interview during the break with Ritesh, and I'm pretty much going to summarize what Ritesh is doing in his business and going to articulate it. And you'll notice that one of the things, this guy sold 120 houses. 120 houses. Average price of around 200 grand. But this guy here, is marketing is his prospecting. He is a true attraction agent. And I'm going to pretty much go through the system of how you're going to do it. The first thing I'm going to start off with and tell you, this guy is my absolute hero. His name's Don Ritchie. He's known as the Angel of the Gap. And Don Ritchie has, on record, saved approximately 180 people from committing suicide. Tell you an extraordinary story about this guy, because he's my hero. Like when people turn around and, they pick sports stars or rock stars or, TV stars, like to me, there are so many heroic acts that you are seeing. Like, I have to tell you, today I was having a quick breakfast and I could have stayed and listened to Dudley for an hour when he told me briefly the story about the fact that and maybe I shouldn't say it because I haven't got permission to say it. Can I touch on it, or is that right? Telling me about the story of him and his brother. His brother, of course, is many of you know, is the performance coach, psychologist, whatever the term you want to do for the All Blacks, right? And but that doesn't interest me that much that he's doing that. What interests me is that we're talking about people that have been orphans, people that have had a hard life. And I'm going to tell you this. I've never seen anyone that's got a strong future that hasn't had a hard past. Remember that. I'm hoping that when I finish off talking today, I want you to have a future bigger than your past. This guy here, Don Ritchie, interesting story. His house was opposite the Gap. The Gap is the most famous suicide spot in Australia. People go there and jump off the cliff when they have made a decision that they can no longer live on this planet for whatever reason. Sometimes it's a mental health issue, sometimes it's a financial issue. Don Ritchie's house was opposite the Gap. And he used to see people walk up. They'd look, and then he started to see people jumping. Don Ritchie, over the next few years, every time he saw someone walk over, he'd be sitting outside his veranda, drinking a cup of tea. He'd walk across and say, "Hi, how can I help you?" He'd get into a conversation and he'd say, "Let's go across. I just live there. Let's have a cup of tea." And they'd walk across. 180 people did not commit suicide. 180 families did not lose a child, did not lose a father. I want you to ask yourself this question. The next time that buyer that we call, they're just a pain, or that vendor that we call, oh, they're a ball breaker. Remember this, behind every person is a story. They're that way for a reason. Never judge. You don't know what's going on in people's lives. The reason I share this story with you is I want to remind you that what you do is a very, very important job. You have people's wealth, their lives in your hands. And what I've learnt is this. People forget what you say, but they never forget the feeling you leave them with. This is a very important rule, because the minute that you stop focusing on yourself and you focus on the customer, life changes. Why? Because clients can smell commission breath a mile away. Gang, that's a marketing calendar. Every real estate agent in this room needs to have a marketing calendar. That is a set of activities that are done regardless. You need to stop running an energy-driven business and start running a process-driven business. A process-driven business means that there is activities that are happening every month consistently, and what they do is that they allow people to be calling you to get an appraisal on their property. I suggest that what you do is maybe take a photo of that, and what you do is you execute, and marketing calendars are set and forget. That's what they are. You set and forget. And there's this process that takes place that is happening all the time, and calls come in. Those of you that are in my real estate gym, I've actually got each of these items, examples, samples of an agent that's doing it, the exact letter, the exact blog, the exact script, the exact brochure on each of these things. So what you do is you copy it and duplicate it. It is simple as that. Success leaves clues. Everyone needs to have a marketing calendar in place, because real estate traditionally is this. What actually happens is when you've got no listings, you go out hunting for listings, and what happens is you get listings, and you've got this constant happening in your business, where what you're doing is you've got no listings, you prospect, you get listings, and you start spending your time selling them. When you're selling them, you stop prospecting. So what actually happens is you sell them, you got no listings, and then you go back down again. And then you've got this cycle constantly going, is that when you've got stuff, you're all good. Then you get rid of it. Then you go out hunting again. The antivirus towards this is that you have a marketing plan that's in place consistently, which ensures that there is appraisals coming into your system. You need to have the process of McDonald's in your business. That's the first thing. The next thing I was going to say is this. Behind any good estate agent, you have a team. You cannot have a great agent without an epic team behind you. And even sitting here interviewing Ritesh, he said, Tom, it's the team. The theme today is about the team. Stop thinking it is you. Remember this, ego is the enemy. Ego is the enemy. A team. And what I've done to make it easy for people is I'm sick and tired of having to have people pumped and motivated after a seminar. They're pumped for a week and then they go back down again. I love checklists. I love systems. I love processes. And what I've done is I've got the exact position description that your assistant should have. Let me show you the model of being successful. There is no reason any person sitting in this room should ever think about leaving property brokers. And I'm proud to tell you that yesterday, sitting with Tim, he said to me, Tom, I can tell you anyone that started a long time ago us has never left us. You don't have to leave. I'll tell you what, I'm going to build your model here. This is your model. This is your model to become a major writer and have an incredible, magnificent life. You're the agent here. You are with property brokers. Once you get to a certain level, you start getting busy and you need someone to actually help you. Why? Because someone's got to do the database work. Someone's got to do the admin work. Someone's got to help with the marketing. This is worth writing down. Work your strengths, outsource your weakness. Work your strengths, outsource your weakness. And that's when you put on your PA. Your first PA is the one that I call a red PA. A red PA is very admin based. What they do is they pick up the trail of destruction that you leave behind, right? Which is pretty much what every estate agent does. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. And then nothing gets done. What I'm saying is, yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. This is your job. Get it done. Critical. The second PA that you hire is what I call a blue PA. And the blue PA is more a buyer's agent, more salesy, might be a lead generator. So all of a sudden, you've got this incredible machine going where you've got you out there, list, sell, negotiate, going to connectors, talking to influencers in the community, putting deals together, going back to your old clients and being in their face, being on the shopping list. You've got the red PA that is doing all the admin work, preparing marketing materials, getting ready for open houses, making sure that they're updating your social media pages. See, all this stuff needs to get done. And if you're doing 100 transactions, someone's got to do them. So you need to actually get an assistant. And remember this, it's not a cost. It's an investment in the profits. Your blue PA is the person that will take you from writing 400,000, 500,000 to the next level. This is your model. And by the way, can I tell you, take it from me. Whenever you hear an agent says that they're writing 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, it's all bullshit. What they have is other salespeople that work underneath them that get their figures given to them. That's what actually happens. No one wants to talk about it. They want to say, oh, look at this guy. He's incredible. He's a rock star. And by the way, never get carried away. We're listing and selling real estate. We're not curing AIDS here, right? Just be hungry, but be humble, right? So that's your model. And what I've done is I've created position descriptions so people know exactly what they got to do. Because one of the problem is, of course, an agent puts on an assistant and expects the assistant to be a mind reader. I think, what are you looking at him for? Okay. There you go. Yeah. Be careful, because your idols become your rivals one day. Okay. So that's the position description. I want to move on and talk to you about Taney Jane. So Taney Jane's an interesting fellow because Taney Jane is a guy in Melbourne. His average price is $350,000. In the real estate gym in November, he won the My Prospector competition. And My Prospector competition, what it does is it measures how many people you're speaking to on the phone, and it measures how many people you connect with and how many appointments. And I have to say to you that the agent that generates most amount of appointments wins in the end. He's only been in real estate for 2 years. His English is really poor because he's only been in Australia for a few years. What he used to do is door knock houses to get people to merge their mobile phone and their landline and their pay TV into one bill. And he used to make about $40,000, $50,000 a year. Last year, he wrote $1,100,000 in fees, selling $350,000 houses. And his solution is very easy. He just prospects and prospects and prospects. Prospecting is the cure to everything. So I have to say to you, I'm a major believer in measuring things. Why? Because what you measure, you manage, and what gets scheduled gets done. So what he does is he goes into the office, and in the morning he does nothing else. His diary is blocked off, and all he does is chase business. He puts no appointments in there, because what you need to do is have a day by design, not a day by accident. So that's a great slide. 2 hours of prospecting a day is going to change your career. 4 hours will change your whole life. Change your whole life. AM, we find our business. PM, we manage our business. Now, sometimes people deviate from that, but all I'm going to say to you is get into the habit of going ugly early. And going ugly early meaning get into the habit of doing the stuff that you least want to do, but is the most important. Now, here's a really great concept I want to share with you. I've been this big believer of the 20 seconds of courage rule. The 20 seconds of courage rule is this. When you think about doing something, you must do it very quickly, because the way our brain works is this. If we feel like it's uncomfortable, the brain says, don't do it. Don't do it. It is danger. It is uncomfortable. This is probably something that emerged when we were cavemen, where we were taught if there's something that is uncomfortable, get ready to fight or flight. It was the fight or flight response. Of course, in 2017, we are not out there hunting, for animals. So all I'm going to say to you is it will change your life. It changed my life, the 20 seconds of courage rule. And the 20 seconds of courage rule is this. You're lying in bed, the alarm clock goes, and you know that the right thing to do is to wake up and go for that walk or go for that run. But what actually happens is this, that you press the snooze button and stay there. All I'm saying to you is this. When you have the impulse to make a decision that's going to be good for you, do it straight away. Because if you don't, a process begins where you start rationalizing and you talk yourself out of doing it. And that's why people spend more time preparing to prospect than actually prospecting. So what I'm going to say to you is I would love you to actually become one of these people that has the 20 seconds of courage rule. That phone call that you need to call a vendor to say to the vendor, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I want to let you know there's only 2 reasons why your property hasn't sold. It's either the marketing is poor or the price is too high, and I'd like to make an appointment to come and see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock to discuss this, because I don't want your property to be stuck helping sell other properties. That's 20 seconds of courage. You know when there's 20 seconds of courage? 20 seconds of courage is when that vendor that you've been chasing, that you haven't called back, and you go back and you say to yourself, hang on a second, let me give them a call and say this to them. Hi, it's Tommy from your property brokers. I'm letting you know that what we've noticed is over the last few weeks, the buyer energy has subsided a little bit. What we're doing is recommending all our vendors that we're going to come on the market in spring to come on the market in July and August so they can beat the curb and be ahead of the properties in spring. I'd like your property to be on the market in isolation, not in competition. It's that kind of conversation. And by the way, I truly believe that, because I'm telling you, do not expect the market to keep putting deals together as it has been. That is not a normal market. Your job is to get this person and this person to be grinding away and putting them together. The market's been doing that for us for quite a while, but it is changing. The next thing I was going to say with you, and sorry I'm going really fast, I want to get through a lot of content. And by the way, when someone says to me, Tom, you know, I really like that script, I really like that dialogue, but you know, I'm not into scripts and dialogues. Hey, listen, I'm not into scripts and dialogues either, but I like to say the truth efficiently. Never use 1,000 words when 50 will do. Remember that. So make the decision when you leave this conference that you're going pro. You're going to be a team player. You're going to learn the scripts. You're going to get systemized. You're going to bank on yourself. Think of yourself as a publicly listed company. Would you buy shares in you? Next thing, ideal weeks. Here's my view of an ideal weeks. They need to be structured, but not too scripted. You can't have 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. I just think AM, you find your business, PM, you manage your business. I just like that system. And all I'm going to say to you is start having a bit of a pattern to your week, because it'll have a profound impact. I have to tell you, I have now for 6 years been making 9 calls before 9 a.m. every day. People say, oh, who do you ring? I'll tell you. I make 3 new business calls per day. I make 3 current client calls per day, and I make 3 culture calls per day. People say, what's a culture call? Oh, people within my organisation to build and develop the culture. So I call people that are assistants, managers, I sometimes call suppliers. 9 calls before 9 a.m, incredible ritual. Let's move on. For those of you that are totally disorganized, totally unstructured, don't know how to manage free time, walk in, start and have a conversation with someone and it goes for 45 minutes. For those of you that basically have got attention deficit disorder, which is you are addicted to distraction, right? For those of you that find it very difficult to start and complete something. And I understand it. Why? Because between Facebook notifications, Twitter, LinkedIn, SMS, email, other people, phones, conversations, colleagues, I want to let you know, it is really hard to just do half an hour of uninterrupted work. What I will say to you is start using this daily design system. It is simple. It is a piece of paper, and all you do is you just have certain goals in that day and you check it off. The calls dialed, calls reached, your MITs. I love MITs, most important tasks. Most important tasks. And I can pretty much tell you, for me, success is achieving 3 most important tasks a day. Remember this, something unimportant done well does not make that thing important. Don't major on the minors. So if you're someone that's sitting here today that is got really good influencing skills, they know how they can read the play, their problem is they're not being called into enough appraisals. I say this to you. Don't worry about the one listing you missed out on. Worry about the 10 you never got called into. And the way you're going to do it is you're going to create yourself, and you're going to move from being disorganized and running on energy and running on adrenaline, and you're going to start having a marketing calendar. You're going to start using My Prospector or Measure Your Own Calls. You're going to start having a daily design system. You're going to start, I personally believe that every person should have a whiteboard in their office that has on the whiteboard the next 10 properties that are coming on the market, and they sit there and you look at them constantly. Why? Because every minute that goes by that you're not doing something, you're giving another minute to Harcourts, to Ray White, to another group to do something with those people. You need to have those sitting there constantly looking at them, saying, what can I do today to get that person to move closer towards me? Guys and girls, because you've just had lunch, I want to get a show of hands. Are people getting what I'm saying? Hands up. Okay? I told you, first session, bit of laughs, bit of fun, few push-ups, but now I want you to understand that we are going to get serious, because in 12 months' time, I want you potentially to be one of those 20 that got up on this stage. That's the deal. Calls per day. If you don't want to use My Prospector, use a simple thing like there, where you just have calls, connects per day. What do people do? I would suggest this. Just start with 10 calls before 10 a.m. each day. I think that's a great starting point. For many of you, that'll be a quantum leap. Don't worry about the 75. Don't worry about the 75. I had a real estate agent say to me, a few months ago, he says, Tom, you talk about, 10, 10, 20, where you talk to 10 people either side of the sign and 20 opposite. Another trainer said that they should do 5, 5, 10. I've had other people in my office say do 3, 3, 6. Which one's the right one? So, is this guy for real? I go, what do you mean? This is in an audience. He goes, you said 10, 10, 20. So I'll just draw it up. You said this. You said what you got to do is when you have a listing here, that you speak to the 10 either side and the 20 opposite, and you go there and you approach them before the first open for inspection and when the property's sold, and you build relationships. I said, correct. Well, he said, someone else told me that it should be 5, 5, 10. I said, right. I said, what is your point? He says, I'm confused. I don't know whether I should do 10, 10, 20, 5, 5, 10, or 3, 3, 6. I said, what are you doing at the moment? He says, oh, I'm not doing any of that. What do you think I should do? I said, for you, 1, 1, 2. Do something. Don't complicate it. And by the way, I don't like complicated. Why? The minute you get fancy, fancy gets broken. Don't like it. I don't like it. Let's move on. I want you to understand, what do you bring to the table as an estate agent, as a real estate person for property brokers? What do you bring to the table? 2 things. Resources to attract more buyers, and negotiation ability once you have a buyer. They're the only 2 things you bring to the table. Everything else is the same. So you've got to develop what I call a really strong talk. Now, I want to tell you a very quick story about George Clooney. So George Clooney, when he first got into acting, trying to get a role, George Clooney would go to audition after audition, and he got rejected and rejected. He did that for nearly 2 years. He had no luck. One day, as he left, he put his head down. He'd been trying out for a role, and he knew he didn't get it, and he walked out with his head down. The producer said, "Are you okay, George?" George Clooney turned around and said, "No." He said, "I don't know what to do." He goes, "I'm just desperate to get a role." The producer said, That's your problem. George looked up and he said, sorry? He goes, George, you've come in here today scared you would not get picked. That's what I felt. He said, George, I want you to know that every time someone walks through that door, we're keeping our fingers crossed that that person is that special person that changes the game for us. We've got a problem. What we're hoping is someone comes in and solves it. Just bear that in mind. Bring something to the table. That changed George Clooney's life because he stopped focusing in, I'm not going to get picked. He stopped focusing on himself and he started focusing in what keeps these producers up at night. And he started coming in as the person that was going to solve that problem. This is a very important learning if you're a real estate agent. Are you going in to a listing or an appraisal saying, I hope they don't ask me to cut my fee. I hope they don't tell me the other agent's doing it for free. I hope they're not going to say, leave it with me and we'll call you back. I hope they're not going to say, we're not in a hurry. Start thinking, what do you bring to the table? Because that will change your mindset from being scarcity to being abundant. Haven't you worked it out? They've got a problem. You're there for a reason. And I'm telling you straight, if you haven't got anything to bring to the table, maybe commission is the only thing you can bring to the table. So I want you to start thinking to yourself, why would they pick me over the other 40 salespeople in this market? Why would they pick me? Everyone, go, bit of music quietly in the background. Have I got you off guard? Okay. Don't worry about the music if you haven't got it, but try, guys, 30 seconds. Why would I pick you? Why, if I was in an elevator and we had 30 seconds to get convinced to pick you, why would I pick you? Go for it. Go, 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 go. Write it down. Talk to each other if you like. Okay. Guys, some shout outs quickly. What's the reason why? Teamwork. Teamwork. Hey. Start.
About them, not about me. People.
Fuck, what'd you say? Sorry. Say that again.
It's about them, not about me.
It's about them. Remember that. Vendors do not care about you, they care about themselves. Remember that. I get that. I understand that. So, I'm going to share with you, oh, by the way, to save you a bit of time, I think that there's 5 or 6 things that you really got to nail. Number one is you've got to be able to show social proof that you can get more money for them. Number 2 is you've got to be able to sit there and say to a vendor, here are the last 10 people that sold with us. Here's their mobile. Here's their email. Contact them. Feel free. That's power. You've got to be able to sit there and I'm telling you straight, you need to be getting vendor testimonials on your iPhone or on your Samsung phone and getting people when you've just made the sale when they're on an emotional high. Why? Because people will listen to other consumers. You've got to be able to say, what have you got? You need to have a great elevator speech. You need to be able in 30 seconds to turn around and say, listen, the reason that you should go with me is that when you list with me, you're in fact getting 35 salespeople that are working for you. Because the structure of our business means that we have a very attractive incentive scheme that means that when you list with me, it is very attractive for the other agents who each have got 300 buyers each to introduce them to your property. Whereas when you list with the competitor, what actually happens is that they're competing against their own selves. So what actually happens is they care more about their own commission than about you. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is the following, that when you list with me, I can tell you that I will be available to take calls from you from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. I will also work harder than any other real estate agent, which means that if I've got to show a buyer here at 9 o'clock because they're about to get on a plane, I'll be doing that. The other reason why you should pick me is I have actually inspected and know the properties that you're up against. So if I see a property that has sold at a figure and people have actually made an offer on that property and I know a little bit about it and they actually come and make an offer on yours, I can say, hang on a second, that property is nowhere near as good as this property. What I'm saying is I've got super product knowledge. In addition to that, I can pretty much tell you, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, the minute you appoint me, I'm going to be doing this home's marketing the way I would do my own. I'm only recommending to you what I would do myself. So gang, I want you to learn the two things that you bring to the table is negotiation, and you better become a good negotiator because I believe, who believes that a good negotiator can add 5% to a transaction? Who believes that one agent's 5%? Yeah. 10%? Okay. Who believes that it doesn't make a difference if you're a good negotiator or not? You just get the same result. No one. So pretty much we had most of the room that said 5% or 10%. Think about it. If you're 4% commission and another agent is 3% commission, there's a difference of 1%. If you're 5% better in negotiating, but you're 1% dearer, that client is 4% better off. That's basic mathematics. So I'm going to start to telling you, you better make the decision to go pro and become the best negotiator in town. Because that is the thing that is going to earn you your fee. And I'm going to spend the second half of this presentation showing fee management. Let's keep going. Facts tell, stories sell. Be a good storyteller. Be an exceptional storyteller. Hands up if you've ever watched the movie Notebook. Hands up. Did you cry? Yeah? Your wife did? Okay. You're bullshitting. You cried too. You were both there, hugging each other on the couch. You're on the couch? Okay. So, hands up if you've ever watched a movie and cried. Which movie? Any movie? Lion, people. What's that? Beautiful. Here's the deal. Movies are movies. They're not real. And actors are getting paid to be in the movies. And there's a script writer. But guess what? You still cried. Why? Because it's a story. And what actually happens is when you're watching a story, you start becoming part of the story. And what I'm going to say to you right now, the best salespeople are good storytellers. They tell a great narrative. But too many of us go in like these robots just plucking figures out. We get 1.5 million views of unique browsers. We get people don't care about that. They just want to sell their house. Tell good stories. So, you know what I'm going to do right now? I need another mic because I'm going to do have we got a roving mic? Beautiful. Who's going to come and role play this with me? I need someone that's going to come up and role play. And you don't have to be, I'll be the agent. I'll be the agent, you're the vendor. Let's do this. We got a mic? Come on up. Who's doing it? Guys, do you speak English? Who's coming up? Coming up. Beautiful. What's your name? Greg?
I'm not on the juice.
You're not on the juice. All righty. Greg, thank you so much.
That's okay.
Okay, so Greg, here's the deal. You are a vendor that is thinking of selling. I work for property brokers.
Great.
Okay, and we've got 40% market share, so you see our signboards everywhere. You see our ads. We're on realestate.co.nz. We've sold properties in your street recently, so you know our brand, right? And you're thinking of selling. You and your wife are thinking of selling, and you call me up because my name's been everywhere, right? And you call me up thinking of selling. Let me show you this conversation. Ring, ring.
Hello. Is Tom there?
Let's start again. Ring, ring.
Hello. Am I the vendor? No, I'm the seller.
Okay, can I just give you a word of advice? It's really important to know who you are at the listing presentation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you get that wrong, you have got problems. Okay, you're the vendor.
I'm the vendor.
Hello, can I help you?
Yes, I'd like to sell my house.
Okay, great. Who am I speaking with?
Greg.
Greg. Greg, my name's Tom Panos. Thanks for the call. Can I ask you who referred you to me?
No, I just saw you in the neighbourhood selling a lot of houses.
Okay, first question. Who referred you to me? Great question. It creates positioning. It says to the person, oh, he gets a lot of calls coming in. He must be good. It changes me from being this desperate salesperson to potentially being someone that gets referrals. Okay, Greg, thanks. The reason why is calls come in all the time, people thinking of selling. It's usually been a friend, relative that's referred them. But what you're saying is you've seen me sell things around the area. Yep?
Yep.
Okay, can I get the address of the property?
Sure. 27 Smith Street.
Okay, 27 Smith Street. Okay, fantastic. Greg, just give me a brief description of the home if you can.
3 bedrooms, single living, double garage, little quarter acre.
Okay, fantastic. And what's prompted you to call me now to get an appraisal?
We're looking to upgrade.
Okay, fantastic. And what area are you looking at going?
Smithtown.
Yeah. Okay. And have you got a time frame?
Sort of as soon as possible.
Okay, fantastic. Look, I can tell you, your property is sitting on 480 square metres of land, and it's a great, level block. Because what I've done is I've gone to RP Data, CoreLogic, while he's talking to me, and I bought 30 seconds. And all of a sudden, I've come back, and now this guy thinks, hang on a second, this guy is a little bit different to the other ones I've spoke to. This guy is a trusted advisor. So you're on a good block, and I noticed that the houses either side of you are well presented, which is going to be a big plus. Just a couple of other things I want to ask you, Greg, before I come out. You know that we've sold 3 in the street over the last 12 months. Did you see the one that was right across the road?
Yeah, I did. It was
Okay.
a lovely little place.
Yeah. So
Not as nice as mine.
Well, yeah. Well. By the looks of yours is beautiful, and I'm pretty sure that you've got a really smart kid as well. Everyone's got the best home and the smartest kids, right? That's life. You don't say that. By the way, the reason I said that is I actually said that at a conference once, and a guy said, "Do you actually say that to people?" The pre-listing is not his biggest problem. Okay. Greg, what I was going to say is that property sold for $330,000. How does that compare to yours?
Oh, I think ours is nicer. It's got a double garage,
Yeah,
and a pit bull in the front lawn.
yeah. Okay. And have you done much work to your place?
The wife's painted it pink.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, that's good. It's a shit colour, but so Greg, what I want to do is organise some other properties, that have sold, and I'm going to get them, and it's called a comparative market analysis, where I'm going to show you other homes that have sold and others that are on the market. And I'm going to pop around and just go over those with you. Just a couple of other questions. By the way, when are you both available?
Oh, tonight after 7.
7 o'clock? Okay, fantastic. Have you actually sold a property before?
No.
No, first time, okay. When you're looking at real estate, what are the main things that you look at? Which marketing, like which websites do you look at? What do you look at?
I just get the newspaper.
Okay, fantastic. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring properties over from around 330 to 370, and we can go over those. Would that be a wide enough spread, you think?
Yeah, we might be looking a little higher.
Okay, so what I might do is actually bring properties, say, from 350 to 400, and we can compare those and see how they compare to yours.
Yep, sounds good.
See what I do? I try and price the property with him at the listing presentation. Critical. Because I don't want my conversation to be a conversation about price when I go there. You can't win that game. I want it to be about process, and I'll show you how. Okay, Greg, finally, what I want to do is, can I get your email?
Yep, sure.
Okay. Check your inbox in the next 30 seconds. You're going to have 10 references. These are people that have just sold with property brokers. It's got their name, address, and email. Feel free to contact them. The second thing you'll get from me is a quick 2-minute video that tells you what we do and how we do it. The third thing you're going to get from me is a copy of an agency agreement, which is the document that you're going to authorise if you want to move forward and appoint us. So you're going to have those 3 things, so you've got them beforehand. I look forward to seeing you at 7 o'clock.
Brilliant, thank you.
Beautiful. Give him a round of applause. Okay. Have a look at what we've done. Just work out this. What we've done is what a doctor does. Diagnose, then prescribe. Look at what we've got. We've worked out, this guy's thinking 350 to 400. We've worked out that there's 2 decision makers, him and his wife. We've worked out that they haven't sold a property before, so they haven't had a bad experience, so they're actually open and they're not totally against anything. We have found out that these people here are what I call immediate sellers, not FSA. An immediate seller appointment is someone that is coming on the market there and then. A future seller appointment is someone that's coming on the market in a year or 2 years. The biggest problem that I see with real estate people is they go to what I call a future seller appointment and they start talking about commission and marketing when these people aren't even coming on the market yet. So you need to be able to distinguish between an immediate seller appointment and a future seller appointment, because at a future seller appointment, it is about them liking you, trusting you, and continuing the relationship via a database. An immediate seller appointment, it is game on, and that is that they're coming on the market and you have to deliver an unstoppable listing presentation to win the business. You'll notice that I also said I am sending you the references of the last people that we've dealt with, because I want you to understand that a listing presentation has 3 steps. It's before the meeting, at the meeting, and after the meeting. And all I'm going to say to you is if you get the questions right before the meeting, you are able to deliver a presentation that is about them, which is what you said before. Make it about them, not about you. You've got to understand, when you walk into a house, you must leave your ego at the front door and basically walk in and pretend that on their forehead there's a sign that says, "Make me feel important." I'm telling you, people are going to forget what you say, but they will never, ever forget the feeling you left them with. I'm a big believer of sending them an agency agreement. Don't put the commission on there. Don't put all the marketing, but send them the document. Why? I think that sometimes it is too much to ask someone there and then to sign a fine print document without never having looked at it. I think it's a good thing to actually say, I've provided that, and I've actually even provided to you the references. Look, I've got to tell you, I'm just obsessed with what you say to people, but you make them yours. So my whole real estate gym is all about scripts and dialogues, how to say it, make it yours, so eventually it sounds like you having a conversation with someone at a cafe. That's what you've got to get it to. So now what I'm going to do is I want to show you the presentation once I'm there. So here's what I do with presentation then I'm there. So, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I want to let you know. Let's pretend we've built rapport, we've got on. I'm going to go straight in now and talk to you about how I present marketing, because I think you've got to nail this. Because if you look at what Ritesh does, is he's good at getting VPA. On $200,000 houses, he's getting $1,500, right? And this is going to help you become this attraction agent, because what actually happens is all this marketing that's going on is going to attract more sellers to you. What do? We list property to list property. Remember that. We list to list. So this is how you present marketing. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I want to let you know that the value of your home is here. It's 100%. My job is to actually try and get you a little bit more, to actually get you 10% more than the marketplace. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, it is the process and not the promise of a price that will get you top dollar. Can I go through that process? Opening statement. You mentioned a figure of 350 to 400 on the phone, and I feel comfortable marketing the property at that, but I want to let you know, we can sit here today and debate the price for hours. But it is the process and not the promise of a price that will get you top dollar. Can I go through that process? Step number 1. We must find what I call the must-have buyer. This is the buyer that must buy your property. This is the buyer that is emotionally connected to your property and says, I have to have it. This is the buyer that buys emotionally and then justifies logically. So we need to find the must-have buyer. Now, one of the things I'm going to share with you is the way I describe a must-have buyer to a vendor is by telling a story. So does anyone have a child that's at high school at the moment that's finishing their last year at school? Okay. What's your first name? Lee. And what's your child's name? Sam. And what does Sam want to do when they finish school? He wants to join the army? Okay, so Sam wants to join the army. So let's pretend that it's his final year at school and Sam comes home from school and he says, Dad, I got this note from school. It says, anyone that wants to join the army should buy this book. It's called How to Blitz Your Exam and Get Ready to Join the Army. It's only $30. School has said anyone that is thinking about joining the army needs to buy this book. So he comes home and Sam says, I really want to get this book. Apparently there's only 100 that have been released in New Zealand. So you quickly go with Sam, you go to the local bookstore, you show them the letter, have you got this book? And they say, we've sold out. You leave that bookstore. You go to the next bookstore. You say, do you have this book? They say, we've sold out. You then go onto Amazon, you look for it, it says out of stock. You can't even get an electronic copy. Sam goes, I can't believe it. You get on the phone and you start ringing every bookstore. They've sold out. You accept it's not going to happen. You start driving home, and in the middle of nowhere, you see a little news agency. And you think to yourself, let's try our luck. You walk in, you ask for the book. The shop assistant says, we actually had a supply come in. Let's go and have a look. They go over to the education section. There's one copy there. You pull it out. You show Sam. Sam says, that's it. Great. You go over to the cashier to pay for it. The cashier says, thank you so much. That'll be $49.95. Hands up if you buy the book. Guess what, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor? That's the buyer we're looking for. We're looking for the best buyer, not the first buyer. Step number 2. We're at the bookstore. Guess what? Lee and Sam are there. But if there's someone else there that's also got someone that wants the book, 2 people want the one book. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, that's step 2 in the process. Competition wins the World Cup. Competition drives the share market up. Competition gets top dollar in real estate. It's step 2 in the process. Step 3. Marketing. We don't want to have luck as your strategy. We don't want to actually have people that just come into the bookstore by accident. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I want to let you know that the Big Mac is the #1 selling hamburger in the world and has been for a number of years. Guess what's also been the shittest tasting hamburger? The Big Mac. Guess what? Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, it's not the best product that wins, it's the best marketed product that wins. We must outmarket the competition. We need to make your property the Big Mac of homes in the marketplace. Because I refuse to mismarket your home and apologise later. Oh, but Tom, the other agent said that they've got 2,000 people on their database already that would be interested in our house. Yeah, we've also got a database of 3,000 people because I want to let you know that buyers are not exclusive. What I want to let you know, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, is, are you after the first buyer or the best buyer? Oh, we want the best buyer. Well, let me show you how. Then you draw this. There are 4 buyers in the marketplace. We have the local buyer, the out-of-area buyer, the active buyer, and the passive buyer. I want to let you know, our job is not to just go out and find the active buyer. The active buyer is the buyer that sits on a database that comes off a website, and I've got to tell you, that's the easiest buyer to get. There's only one problem. They overanalyze and underact because they become New Zealand's best valuer. What we need to do is go out there and find all 4 buyers. The local buyer currently lives in the suburb. The out-of-area buyer may be living in Auckland, may be living in another country. The passive buyer, we love the passive buyer because no one knows who they are. Comes in, they see a house they like, they go to the open for inspection, the next week they've bought it. That's the passive buyer. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I want to let you know that if we don't find 100% of the buyers in the marketplace, how will we achieve 100% of the potential in the value of your home? I want to ask you, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, what's more important to you? Over-marketing by $2,000 or the risk of underselling by $50,000? What's more important to you? Oh, but Tom, look, it's a lot of money. It's a big cost. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, it's not a cost. It is an investment in the profits. One extra buyer could be $20,000. Oh, but Tom, the other agent, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I want to let you know, how much money do you spend on car insurance each year? Oh, I don't know, I spend $700. How much is your car worth? Oh, I don't know, $40,000, $30,000? You spend $700 protecting an asset worth $40,000. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, I suggest you write out a check for $1,500 in marketing to ensure that we don't undersell the biggest asset you own. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, would you like me to present you with a marketing program to make you happy or one to get you the best price? Want the best price? Here it is. Oh, but Tom, how much is the home worth? Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, the value of your home is dependent on 4 things. Number 1, location. Number 2, presentation. Number 3, the agent you pick. And number 4, the strategy the agent uses. I've got good news. Out of the 4, you control 3 of those. We don't control location, but we control everything else. Let me show you. There are actually 3 prices in real estate. There is here what I call the emotional price. There is here what I call the probable price. There is here what I call the mathematical price. This is the price that we use our process to get the buyer that buys the $49 book. This is the $30 buyer. This is the probable price based on comparables. And this is the bargain hunter. At Property Brokers, our intention is to always aim to go here. I'm only recommending to you what I would do myself. Guys and girls, learn the scripts and dialogues. I've got, hundreds of words that you need to master at any time. I'm not saying you're going to use all of them at the one time, but if a vendor turns around and says, but the other agent was cheaper, I would turn around and say, look, I got to tell you, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, the cheapest agent and the best agent are generally not the same agent. Can I explain to you why? That's a great thing to say. The cheapest and the best agent are not the same agent. Guys and girls, by the way, who liked all that dialogue I just did for the last 20 minutes? Show of hands. Learn it, master it, master it. And those of you that have come and spoke to me during the break saying, how do I get in? The gym closes on Friday. We go for 12 months. Those of you, I'll hang around at the end and give you a form or work it out. So gang, let me just move on. One final thing on a master before we leave, and this is critical. This is to the agent. Are you ever in a situation where they want to go with you, but the other agent has gone in at 3%? So they want you, but the other agent's cheaper. Hands up if we ever have that situation. Okay, come back up. Yeah. So here's the deal. What was your first name? Greg. Greg, here's the deal. Got the mic on? Yep. Beautiful. Okay. Test it?
That's it.
Okay. So here's the deal. I've done the presentation. Greg wants to go with me. There's only one problem. Another agent has gone in at a lower fee. So he wants to go with me, but the other agent is cheaper. So I just want to show you how we're going to handle this process. Greg, so I've gone through all of this with you, Greg. I've done the emails. I've done the perfect pre-list. You love me. You want to go with me. There's only one problem. Okay, so watch it. Greg, so if I can just get you to okay the paperwork, it will start the process and get me working to find that special buyer for your home.
Yeah, I'd like to, Tom, but it's your fees we need to talk about. They're a bit expensive. The other guy's 1% cheaper. Hello. I'm here all week.
Greg, so I'm clear what you're saying is you want to go with me at their fee.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Right. So if I was the same fee as them, who would you pick?
Oh, I'd pick you, Tom.
Can I ask why?
You're better looking.
Apart from that?
I think you're the agent that'll get the best result for my property.
Can I ask you, at the end of the day, what's the number one thing you want to get out of this transaction?
I want to get a big bank balance.
The most money?
Absolutely.
So let's just focus on that for one moment. Then draw this up. Greg, you've started talking to me about, it's working, it's all good. You've started talking to me about the fee, but what you've just said to me is that you want the most money in the bank balance, which is called the net figure. Let me show you how it works. We're in this situation at the moment. We've got agent A and agent B. You're trying to pick up between the two of us, right? So we've got the price here. So the property's going to get sold for a price based on the agent's ability, negotiation, marketing, finding that special buyer. The next thing that comes out is called the commission. The next thing that comes out is called the advertising. And then the last thing that comes out is the net figure is what you get in your bank balance, is which what you've just told me. So let me just show you how it can potentially work. You list with the average agent, they go along and they sell your property, let's say for $300,000. Let's turn around and say that they charge you $9,000, Let's turn around and they say that they charge you $1,000 in advertising. 300 minus 9 minus 1 equals 290,000. That's the figure that you had in your bank balance. Alternatively, let's assume that you went with the better agent, the one that can negotiate. Let's assume you went with the one that's actually got a broader base of buyers, the one that finds that person that pays $49.95 for the book, but they sell your property for $320. And what actually happens is that they charge you $12,000. And let's turn around and say that they charge you $2,000. Let's do the numbers. 320 minus 12 equals 308, minus 2 equals 306. Greg, can you see that the cheapest agent is in fact the most expensive agent, and the agent that you think is more expensive is in fact the cheapest agent? Because I can tell you that the agent that gets you the most money is the best agent. By the way, Greg, can I ask you a simple question? How important is it being a good negotiator in real estate?
paramount.
How am I doing as a negotiator?
Fantastic.
Well, let me tell you, the only decision you're going to make is who is going to have that final conversation with the buyer of your property. Let me get to work. Sign here. Give me a big round of applause. And by the way, if you're going to do this, practice it. Because there's been plenty of real estate agents that have done this, and what actually happens is they get the numbers wrong along the way. And I had a real estate agent in Sydney, beautifully dressed, $2,000 Hugo Boss suit, nice BMW outside, went and took a photo of this and said, Tom, I am going to smash the agents. They're going in at low fees. And he went in and he delivered this. He rang me up the next day and he said, Tom, you can shove your net figure up your wherever. I go, why? He goes, it stuffed me up. It embarrassed me. I said, what happened? He said, I did it and I got the numbers wrong. I said, where'd you get it wrong? He says, I'm not quite sure, but what I can tell you is that Agent A had a higher figure down the bottom than Agent... I said, you're kidding. He goes, yeah. I go, how'd you finish? He said, I just looked at him and I said, if I can't be your first agent, maybe I can be your second one. Practice it. Practice it. Gang, what I was going to say is, because I've had about 10 or so people come up to me during the break, those that want to join the gym, I'm going to be down the side over there. If you come over, you'll fill out a form. It works out to being $10 Aussie a week. I'll be your coach for 52 weeks of the year. All the stuff I spoke about, it's all in there. Marketing templates, scripts, dialogues, and I've also got 10 of these with me. I gave 2 away. I had 12, and I'll give each person that joins a free one of these. These are worth $1,000. So you'll just fill the form, and I'll take it with me, and we'll get you up and registered. And that's the end of me promoting. By the way, I'm only mentioning this because I've had a number of people that have come to me during the break, how do I join the gym? They've seen that it closes on Friday. I want to move on and just say thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you. There's a heap of slides there. By the way, that's not a Photoshop. That's me in 2006, 2 weeks before I got diagnosed. Okay, that's no bullshit. And I've got to tell you, when I finished on the 23rd of December, my doctor said to me, Tom, you're a smart man. You made a decision to change what you put in your body because I don't think you would have got through this relapse with the amount of drugs that we pumped into your body. My words to you is this: the highest form of wealth is health, as Paul said to you. Can I just share with you a couple of rituals that I used? By the way, that photo there, that's a result. That's a result of being successful. I'll tell you why. Remember this. Take it from the bottom of my heart. Life was good back there. Business was coming in. Newspapers were strong. There was no competitors in my market. We're smashing it. And I started going to work later. And I started leaving work earlier. And I started getting complacent and arrogant. And instead of spending time making money, I'd run around looking like I had money. I got overweight, unhealthy. I learned something. Nothing breeds failure like success. When you're most successful is when you're most vulnerable. So anyone that's sitting in this room now that's got a big spring in their step and they're cocky, understand that there's a girl or guy that's watching from 200 metres away that is saying, he's very cocky and arrogant, and they're going to work really hard. So I say, go to bed each night as if you're coming last. They're the rituals that changed my life. I'll tell you, I do this. 5 a.m. club, exercise daily, you know. These are the things. These are the things that have been a dramatic impact in my life. But the most important thing I'm going to tell you, take risks. Take risks. I've got bad news for you. You're going to die. You can bank on it. No one does not die, right? So what does this mean? Stop mucking around with your life. Do you understand? This is the most amount of time you've got left in your life. Get serious about it. And I'll tell you what, when you realize that you are now having the most amount in your life, what actually happens is you play big because you have nothing to lose. Think about it. You're going anyway. I hope that you go in 30, 40 years. I hope you're going 30, 40 years. But I'm telling you, to me, cancer has been a gift that was badly wrapped because it has taught me the following: compassion. Why? Because when you suffer, you understand what other people go through. That's the gift it gave me. My final slide is my chemo ward. I spent 3 years there the first time. That green chair's where I spent my time. I'll never forget day one at chemo. A guy came and sat next to me there on the blue chair. He said, "What's your name?" I said, "Tom." He said, "How old are you?" I said, 38. He said, "I've never seen you here before." I said, "It's my first day." He said, "What's wrong?" I told him. We got talking. He wanted to talk about rugby, soccer. He was trying to get my mind off the subject. And then I said to him, "How come you're not hooked up?" He says, "I don't have cancer." I said, "Oh." I said, "Are you visiting someone?" He goes, "Nah, I just pop in here." I said, "Oh, right." I said, "You're obviously a good person." I said, "It's been great chatting." And I turned around. He said, "You want me to go?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Maybe talk to someone else." He said, "Tom, the minute you walked in today, I was crying on the inside. I feel your pain. I know what you're going through." I looked back, I said, "Bullshit. You don't know my pain." I said, "I had the perfect life 24 hours ago, and it's been taken away." I said, "I don't know why it's happened to me." I said, "I have no cancer in my family." I said, "You don't know my story." He got up and he says, "I'll let you go. I'll let you go." He said, "But remember, the future is going to be better than the present, and you've got the power to make it so. God bless you." He walked. I looked up. He was gone. I've never forgotten what he said. The future is going to be better than the present, and you've got the power to make it so. They're the most important two beliefs I can leave you with today. The future is going to be better than the present, and you've got the power to make it so. I want to let you know the best day of your life is you look in the mirror and you say, "I'm the problem, I'm the solution." Never let your personal history get in the way of your destiny. Who you are is not who you can be.